For nearly 50 years, she helped build an empire that touched every corner of the world, yet she did so from the shadows. Marjorie Rieu was not just the wife of André Rieu, was his writer, his manager, his most loyal partner, and above all, his fiercest protector. While audiences adored André's smiling presence on stage and crowned him the king of the waltz, very few knew that behind his success stood a woman whose quiet strength made it all possible. Together they conquered the classical music world, turning orchestral performance into a global sensation. But now, as André celebrates his 75th birthday, Marjorie has begun stepping back, slipping away quietly from the spotlight she never sought. Her absence raises a heartfelt question. What became of the woman who held everything together? The unraveling of their seemingly unshakable empire began in 2010, at the very height of André's international fame. He was performing to sold out arenas with his Johann Strauss Orchestra jetting across continents, dazzling crowds in massive stadiums, juggling recordings, TV specials, and media appearances, all without showing a hint of fatigue. For years, André seemed untouchable. He took no sick days, never delayed a concert, and not even the exhaustion of long flights or endless rehearsals appeared to slow him down. But one night, while vacationing in Belgium with Marjorie, something shifted. At 3 a.m, André woke to find the room violently spinning. The ceiling whirled, the walls tilted, and the floor felt as if it had collapsed beneath him. Drenched in sweat, unable to stand, and gripped by disorientation, he tried to dismiss it as simple exhaustion. After all, he had been pushing himself, recording. In the studio, cramming Spanish lessons, and preparing for a major tour, all within a single week. He had always believed positivity and productivity were enough to keep illness away. But this was something different. By morning, the vertigo had worsened, not faded. Doctors diagnosed André with vestibular neuritis, a viral infection that strikes the vestibular nerve, the very system responsible for balance. The effects were devastating: severe dizziness, motion, sickness, and constant disorientation. André wasn't just lightheaded. He couldn't walk in a straight line, rehearse, or even hold his violin without feeling the world spin violently around him. This was no minor inconvenience. A massive concert was scheduled in Amsterdam just days later, with 60,000 fans already holding tickets. But the triumphant return never came. On strict orders from his doctor, André was forced into complete rest. At that moment, the great Rieu empire began to wobble. It wasn't just André's life that turned upside down. Marjorie was shaken at the very core as well. More than just his wife, she had always been the backbone of his career. A trained composer and a skilled language teacher, she had been his partner in every sense since 1975, while André enchanted audiences under the stage lights. It was Marjorie who managed the business, crafted his scripts, protected his time, and ensured the machine of his career ran seamlessly. But in 2010, there was no manual, no carefully prepared script for what came next. The consequences rippled quickly. André had to cancel his Australian tour, followed by his UK dates events, far larger than small concert halls. These were stadium-sized productions, with entire teams depending on them, lighting technicians, orchestra members, logistics crews, and countless others. In total, 120 people relied directly on his concerts for their livelihood. Costs alone reached £825,000 a month, without even factoring in personal earnings. His sudden illness triggered not just an artistic crisis, but a financial and emotional one as well. And in the middle of this storm stood Marjorie. Managing everything from their 15th century castle in Maastricht to home André had dreamed of owning since childhood, she oversaw communications, balanced finances, and most importantly, fought to make sure André rested, even though he resisted. He begged for medication, tried to stand, pushed to rehearse, and wanted to keep working. But nothing helped. His body simply wouldn't cooperate. It was Marjorie who reminded him that this was not about determination or willpower. This was about survival. The irony of the moment was profound. After years of believing he was immune to burnout, André had finally reached his breaking point. He had always assumed that optimism and energy could protect him from collapse. But no matter how celebrated, even the most tireless performer is still human. For 3 long months, André was bedridden. He was too weak to tour, too dizzy to stand, and too fatigued to enjoy the simple joys of playing with his grandchildren. At one point, he tried to lighten the mood by comparing his relentless sweating to menopause. But behind the joke was a deep, gnawing fear. Doctors scanned him for a brain tumor, which thankfully was ruled out. But recovery from vestibular neuritis had no quick cure. The only treatment was patient-centless physical therapy. Balance, retraining, daily exercises, and eye movements repeated 3 times a day. Slowly, the symptoms eased. But emotionally, the scars remained. The fear of relapse lingered constantly. With even a 5% chance of recurrence, stress became the greatest threat to his health. That meant André had to change not just his schedule, but his entire way of life. And once again, it was Marjorie who guided him through the transition. She helped him make 2 lists. One of everything he loved, performing, composing, recording, and one of everything that drained him, business. Meetings, press conferences, interviews, management. The second list was far longer. Together, they cut it away. From then on, André would focus only on music. Marjorie would shoulder the rest. This choice wasn't just about reducing his stress, it was about shielding him. While the world saw André as invincible, Marjorie had witnessed his darkest hours, the trembling, the vomiting, the humiliation of needing help just to walk to the bathroom. She kept these struggles hidden from the public, preserving his image while protecting his dignity. Unlike many celebrity couples, their partnership was never for show. Marjorie rarely stood beside him on stage or posed for the cameras. She once admitted that she never wanted to be defined solely as André Rieu's wife. She had her own career, her own mind, her own identity. Yet in the quiet, unseen corners of his life, her strength shone the brightest. Together, they raised 2 sons and now cherish 5 grandchildren. They still live in that dream castle where André once took childhood piano lessons. Through fame, fortune, and illness, Marjorie has always been the calm in the storm, the steady hand on the wheel. And now, as André reaches the milestone of 75 years, she steps away with the same quiet grace that once built an empire from behind the curtain by 2013. André was back on stage, his recovery defying medical expectations. Through rigorous therapy, eye exercises, and essential lifestyle changes, he regained stability faster and more fully than doctors had predicted. But the shadow of fear never fully left. For Marjorie, the role she played had shifted. She was no longer only the partner of a globe-trotting star, she had become his anchor, his guardian, the person who ensured he never pushed himself past the breaking point again. When audiences today see André smiling, waltzing and leading his 60-piece orchestra with charm and elegance, few realize what it takes to keep that dream alive. They rarely notice the woman behind the scenes, the one who carried him when everything threatened to collapse. But Marjorie knows, because for her, that chapter was only the beginning. In 2017, another wake-up call came not from an infection or a canceled show, but from within. André's relentless pace, constant travel, and the heavy weight of leading an orchestra were slowly wearing him down again. His body was surrendering, and this time he could no longer ignore the warning signs. Determined to survive, he brought in reinforcements, a personal trainer, a new diet, and a structured routine built around strength, stamina, and perhaps most importantly, rest. This wasn't about appearance, it was about life itself. The transformation was remarkable. With carefully designed workouts, tailored meals, and consistent training, André regained his energy. He slept better, moved more freely, and felt stronger than he had in years. His new lifestyle even rippled outward. Inspired by his discipline, members of his orchestra began making health a priority too. On tour, musicians could be found in hotel gyms, joining Zumba classes, and even training for marathons. Backstage culture shifted. Wellness was no longer an afterthought, it became part of the rhythm of their music and their lives. If you've ever stopped to wonder how a man in his 70s manages to walk onto a stage night after night, performing for hours on end, often from 8 p.m. until midnight, while constantly adjusting to shifting time zones, the answer isn't some mystery formula. The secret lies in three simple but powerful things: rest, discipline, and the steady, unwavering support of a loyal team that walks the same path alongside him. Today, André keeps his world small and intentional. He carries family photos tucked carefully inside his violin case, as if they were lucky charms or anchors. Before every concert, his sons send him snapshots of his grandchildren, reminding him that no matter how far he travels, home is never out of reach. Even his wedding ring is treated with care. He wears it on a chain around his neck instead of on his finger to avoid any mishaps while performing on stage. These habits might seem minor, but they are far more than routines. They are grounding rituals. When life keeps you constantly in motion, soaring from one city to another, and giving your heart away on stage, night after night, these little pieces of home are what keep your feet firmly on the ground. And speaking of home, that grand castle in Maastricht is more than a symbol of fame or success. It is the place where Marjorie, his lifelong partner, waits quietly, watches every performance from the sidelines, choosing the shadows over the limelight. Marjorie doesn't need applause or recognition to make an impact. For more than 40 years, she has been the hidden force shaping André's career, writing his biography, organizing concerts, managing logistics, and constantly ensuring that his focus stays on what truly matters. Their love story itself carries the same timeless energy that sparked when they first met in the 1970s. Back then, Marjorie was working as a language teacher in Nagin, and André was the charming young man she encountered at his sister's dance class party. When they reconnected years later, their connection was instant. They fell deeply for each other without hesitation. But not everyone celebrated their union. André's parents harbored doubts about Marjorie. Her free-spirited, flower child personality clashed with their more rigid traditional expectations. Still, the couple pressed forward, determined to build a life together. Both André and Marjorie had been raised in disciplined households where the value of hard work was instilled from the very beginning. That shared ethic became the cornerstone of their partnership. By 1978, André had joined the Limburg Symphony Orchestra while also performing with the Gemma Serpent Salon Group. Around that same period, Marjorie discovered she was pregnant. Life quickly turned into a balancing act, teaching music, raising their child, and playing gigs at retirement homes just to get by. To call those days hectic would be an understatement. But Marjorie was far more than a supportive wife. She became André's strategist. She wrote talking points for performances, designed promotional brochures, and stood tirelessly at event booths, persuading organizers to book shows. At one point, the couple was performing free concerts in tiny halls for only a handful of people while still dreaming of filling theaters and touring the world. That dream finally came within reach in 1994, when the album Strauss & Company and the viral success of the Second Waltz catapulted them into the spotlight. It wasn't luck that carried them. There it was the result of relentless years of preparation, grit, and unwavering determination. Yet even after success arrived, life didn't become smooth. In 2008, a replica of Schönbrunn Palace nearly drove them into financial ruin. Marjorie endured sleepless nights, watching their money disappear faster than it was earned. But she remained calm, methodical, and resilient. In time, their son Pierre joined the family operation, bringing with him much-needed business acumen to balance André's boundless artistic drive. Even today, Marjorie avoids the spotlight. No new photos, no interviews unless absolutely necessary. She often travels under her maiden name, steering clear of public recognition, not out of shyness, but out of choice. While André embraces the public stage, Marjorie retreats to the background, preserving the balance they both need to thrive. At home, André has slowed down. He now enjoys cooking carefully planned organic meals, a discipline that mirrors the structure of his music. Their favorite retreat is the Orangery, an indoor garden André designed himself. It is a peaceful sanctuary filled with exotic plants, fluttering butterflies, and koi fish gliding beneath Tuscan-style murals. For the couple, this private garden is a haven, a quiet world away from the chaos of touring. But where did André's relentless drive truly come from? Who first taught him to gamble everything on a dream, even when the odds felt impossible? That story circles back to one man, Edgar Clement, André's Jewish father-in-law, perhaps the unsung architect of his career. Edgar was not a celebrity. He never conducted an orchestra or stood beneath bright stage lights. But his influence is stitched into every note André plays. Edgar was a Holocaust survivor who escaped Berlin in 1932, with his family joining him in Maastricht 2 years later. During the war, he went into hiding, protected by a courageous Dutch girl named Nelly. She would later become his wife and André's mother-in-law. Nelly risked everything, joining the Dutch resistance and helping Jewish families survive. Decades later, a letter arrived from an Israeli family, thanking her for saving their grandmother's life. That story stayed with André, not as a distant relic of history, but as a living legacy he had married into. Edgar's influence went beyond survival stories. When André married Marjorie in 1975, he inherited Edgar's most cherished possession, a vinyl record collection of more than 300 albums. For André, who had been raised on the greats batch, Beethoven and Bruckner, this collection was like stepping into a new dimension of sound. Edgar's records introduced him to operettas, 1920s dance tunes, the Beatles, and even the Rolling Stones. It wasn't passive listening. André absorbed the music. A collection became the foundation for the early performances of the Maastricht Salon Orchestra. It shaped their repertoire, their atmosphere, even their branding. The joy, nostalgia, and charm that now define André's concerts all trace back to Edgar's collection and Marjorie's quiet guidance. But Edgar's greatest gift wasn't music, it was emotion. He taught André to feel the soul behind every sound. That lesson echoes in nearly every concert André performs. His rendition of Hava Nagila, uploaded in 2010, has garnered over 14 million views, making it one of the most watched classical music videos online. That was no accident. It was a tribute to Edgar, to survival, and to the unbreakable resilience of those who rebuild after loss. Whenever André performs in Israel, the atmosphere is electric. In return, he often plays local favorites like Jerusalem of Gold, blending cultures into one seamless musical celebration. Since 2018, he has returned to Tel Aviv regularly, with each concert feeling less like a performance and more like a homecoming. Behind the scenes, Edgar's story still guides him. André knows his family's history, the fragility of it all, and it fuels his determination to celebrate life through music. His message has always been simple, yet powerful. Keep dreaming. Keep dancing. Keep going, even during the COVID-19 lockdowns. When concert halls sat silent and audiences could not gather, André refused to stand still. He baked cakes for his neighbors and compiled past performances into a virtual concert titled Magical Maastricht. Streamed globally from December 19th to January 3rd, it carried the same joy, motion, and magic of live performances into living rooms. Around the world now, in 2025, André celebrates his 75th birthday with a global cinema event. It's more than a retrospective. It's a personal invitation to experience his legacy. From New York to Vienna, Bahrain to Sydney, audiences are treated to a carefully curated journey through his most iconic performances. One highlight is a breathtaking rendition of Music of the Night from Phantom of the Opera. Another is a heartfelt duet with his brother Robert, performing Pai Jesu while reminiscing about their childhood in Maastricht. And then there is Emma. Since 2024, she has been touring with André and the Johann Strauss Orchestra, joining them on stages from Mexico to Colombia, Chile to Bahrain. Her presence signals a new chapter. André's story is not finished. It is evolving. It's welcoming new voices while honoring traditions and ensuring the music lives on through collaboration. When you step back and look at it all, the boy from Maastricht, with a second-hand violin who became one of the best-selling classical artists of all time, you begin to see the full scope. This is a man shaped by tradition, couple who once scraped by with retirement home concerts, a dream born from wartime resilience and dusty vinyl records, a legacy built on passion, perseverance, and the quiet strength of those who worked in the shadows. Edgar Clement never took the stage, but through André, his spirit is forever illuminated in the spotlight. Marjorie, too, may sit in the background, but every note André plays is part of the story they built together. From the rubble of war-torn Berlin to sold-out stadiums across 5 continents, this journey was never about fame. It was about love, sacrifice, and an unwavering belief in a dream that asked for nothing in return. So where does the music go from here? That is the final question. With André celebrating his 75th birthday, Emma stepping confidently into the spotlight, and the orchestra still enchanting audiences across the globe, the answer is beautifully clear.